Hello and welcome to this episode of the Ranting Atheist podcast. Today we are listening to the recording, a second part of a room we had some months ago. It's titled Trolley Problem. I got the idea from a podcast I listened to, Ranting Atheist, and people share their different perspectives on different ethical dilemma scenarios and what they would do, as we don't use God as a framework for morality. So how does a godless person navigate that? People bring their different perspectives and so on. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing on Apple, Spotify, Google, YouTube, and other places you find podcasts. Check out the show notes for links you may find useful. And yes, we have found a place that we are moving to. We are moving to Discord. It may be an app you have never heard of. Just check it out. We'll put the link in the show notes. We've created a Discord server. We're adding people little by little, mostly people that are listening to this podcast. So if you want to check it out, please click the link is in the show notes. So let's go and listen to us discuss the trolley problem and other ethical dilemmas. All right, so let's jump to scenario 4. So this scenario is how it goes. So aliens arrive, they visit you personally, and they bestow upon you the ability to be invisible at will. You can go anywhere and you will not be seen. Now you're a moral creature. You are strongly convinced that stealing is wrong. But just down the road, there's a bulaba, a drug cartel, and they set up shop. And you realize that you can turn invisible, so you could easily just walk into the headquarters, steal millions from the organization, and walk away. Would you be a proponent of stealing from the cartel? Would you actually steal? That is Ore, you. Will you steal from the cartel?
What? Like, I didn't hear the question. Wait, no, I heard the aliens but like
okay,
kind of
aliens came and gave you power, superpower to be invisible at will. So down the road near you, you found out there's a drug cartel near you. So would you can turn invisible anytime, you can walk in there and steal millions of dollars from the drug lords.
Yeah.
Now, would you actually steal from them?
Yes. Wow. Me, I'm broke. At least I'm at the point in my life where I understand why people do ritual. You think I will not turn invisible and steal from a drug cartel? Oh. But okay, if I'm in a situation where I'm not in like desperate need or whatever, I might not like steal from drug cartel. I might whistle blow or something. Like use the invisibility, get evidence. Because drugs,
the government will chop the money.
And drugs do be killing people.
You can take the money and use it for some altruistic.
But drugs do be killing people. So what do we do with that?
You steal the money and make them broke.
All these rationalizations.
But then you know that once that money gets missing, they're going to start killing off all of their workers that are there. They're going to start killing them one by one. Looking for the person.
It's not better to just bust the drug cartel and
bust it.
To be honest, I go even enter bank. What do you need money for? I go enter bank, tip that money.
Why can't people go to Tinubu's house and then steal his money? Like, why must you go to all these places where people can end up being
people will see invisible dollars walking around, bro. We steal the money.
Look at the invisible.
If I could turn invisible.
Oh yeah, let me ask a very good question.
Money for if you become invisible?
See, this is what I would do. I'm going to become an assassin.
Wait, Ranting, look at Domi's question. So, does the invisibility transfer to objects? Like now, if you are invisible,
I said they will be seeing dollars moving around, bro. They won't see anybody holding
it. Maybe we assume that it works like the invisible cloak, wherein anything that is maybe you put it under your shirt, it will disappear.
Okay. I have some Harry Potter shit.
Imagine you have to walk around naked now just to use this invisibility. Hey, imagine you have to walk around naked now. Just use.
And we go free willy. The why me who be naked.
Oh, that was fucked up.
No, nobody they see you now.
Bro.
Oh my god, that was a beautiful Free Willy reference.
Exactly.
Oh.
My own question is just like, if you're invincible and like naked and doors blows on you, will you shoot?
These are the issues.
What did he say?
Like you're invincible. And
Do the elements affect you?
Yeah.
Oh,
like there's a sandstorm or something.
Like if they pour paint on you, the paint will just be floating with your outline.
No, I want to ask a question here. What do you need money for when you're invincible?
Issue, you're right. I will just go and take it.
They said, but you can be anywhere you want, do anything you want, and you don't really need money.
It doesn't. There are things you have
There's
to
more conditions to these powers. Like
they didn't give us. They didn't give us the
can you
food.
go
They
back
didn't give
to be
us.
invisible?
No, you could be invisible anytime you want. So what do you really need all those money for?
I want to buy.
Yes, to order from Amazon
legally.
Sorry, but the thought experiment doesn't actually say that you're immune to something like shooting and stuff, right?
So like, imagine you're a drug dealer, you see dollars floating. What if they just start like popping shots?
Exactly.
You start praying. You start praying. Blood. They don't start praying. Blood of Jesus. Blood of Jesus.
Yeah, there's limitations to this power. I didn't even realize. Like what? If you're walking on snow, will they see footprints? Like,
It's they didn't have enough. It's just like off the cuff kind of thought experiments.
It could be. Yeah, sorry, like it could be the mistake of the person who composed it. Maybe they actually really meant to say that you're like totally immune, invisible, and no footprints, they can't stab you, they can't shoot you. Maybe that's what they meant. In which case, that would have a different answer,
I think it's best we just assume you are not just visible in the light spectrum, but every other thing is affecting you.
Yeah, that one is bad because now if they see something like this, but I think I wasn't concentrating, but I was hearing somebody saying they would just be stealing money from the bank. They will try to shoot that thing that is picking the money.
they will measure where the body is versus where you're holding it.
No, but Bono, in Nigeria, if you do that thing, people go pick race. So
they go start to pray.
Now, Juju, they go first wrong. Everybody go back.
But after a while, somebody will be bold enough to try to tackle it somehow, right? I know the first reaction will be everyone will run away. But if it continues to pick goods and pick stuff, somebody will try something.
God damn it.
If they stone you and you start to bleed, would the blood be too many questions.
This guy, so you don't see blood leaking out of thin air. Man, there were too many factors that needs to be considered for that kind of power.
Yeah, some politicians will be dead, That's all I know.
Oh, man,
Okay, so like, who would you kill first as an assassin in Nigeria? Who was the first person to go?
We all know.
Daughter of mine.
No. Nothing concern those ones. Those ones are not there, but we know. A town hall.
Mulaba.
Blah, blah, blah.
Like, the list go long, Sha.
Okay, but then another thing too as well we've not really considered yet is that even when you don't see people, sometimes you can feel that they're around. Can you be grabbed?
I think so. I think you can be grabbed. That's why we are putting this area of if something stains you, like now, if you now go and try and kill someone, now it is even fucked up. If you are trying to kill somebody, if you carry your weapon might be I think your weapon will be visible. They will see gun floating or knife or something. Like this area is just so. It's just so.
And also, like, let's say that you want to even assassinate somebody in their office. There's this way in which people, human beings here, are very like observant. Observers. Say, what kind of place word again? Observant.
Observant.
Observant. Thank you. Observant. Where it's like I can't see there's somebody here, but I can feel there's somebody here. Or their hairs on their arms start raising. Like all this kind of stuff, right? That as to it.
We to say people get spider sense. Now only
spider sense.
Now only Tomola Spider-Man they see in here they stand when it's spider sense they think.
No, actually you do. Like when you get scared or when you get cold, your arms of your hair do start.
Wait, ranting.
So the arms of your hair, the hairs of your arm.
Eh?
Oh, like that's never happened to you where like somebody
say my hair
stands. Somebody
and goosebumps,
like,
but hair standing. I don't know. Better I've not taken notes.
You've probably not taken note, but it does happen.
Okay. Let's move to the next scenario. Okay, they said this scenario was presented back in 1974 by a philosopher, Robert Nozick. Now, he was a proponent of hedonism. Is it hedonism or hedonism or is it
Hedonism.
Hedonism, which means you place pleasure above all other values. No matter what happens, I am only interested in my own pleasure. And it was a proponent. So he asked a question. Imagine a machine that would allow you to experience anything you want on your terms, anything you want. This machine could bring to life your greatest pleasures and desires anytime. But the fear is that the machine will become intoxicating. So it becomes so like much better than the real world, and you might never want to unplug. You understand? So you have the simulation a simulation of doing things, but you wouldn't really be doing them. So now the question is, would you plug yourself into such a machine knowing the risk?
That was for me.
Yes, for you. Yes, Wonder.
Yeah. So here's what I think. I think a perpetual state of said pleasure would take away its exceptionality. It would recalibrate the spectrum of feelings of what we consider pleasure. I'm saying, if you don't feel sad, you don't enjoy happiness. So if you're always in that state of pleasure, it becomes torture at some point, or it nullifies its what makes it special, and then you start looking for another peak.
Another angle. I kind of agree with that. It's basically like a finished situation. It just becomes bland.
You become used to it, and then you want something better. You want something. You need another peak. You need to feel something else because you're numb to that pleasure already.
Was there not a movie about something like this? I don't know.
Sorry, like in certain versions of this scenario I've heard, like they kind of get past that point by saying like whatever the pleasure, like you can't get tired of the pleasure that the machine will provide to you. Like whenever you get numb to whatever it is that is pleasing you at this point, to find whatever pleasure is next. Like so, like it kind of makes the scenario a little bit more palatable. You understand, so that we don't just.
But you are still aware that the pleasure you experience is not reality.
Well, what's real at that point?
No.
At that point, what's real? Everything it's happening in your conscious brain. So,
and the question is, what's the consequence of you just being plugged into a machine? Your consequence in the real world. That's another thing to be considered.
That is the question.
Yeah, but I think at that point, your reality, it's what you choose it. It's what you choose it to be. You could live on there for how long?
You could be there forever if every other thing is taken care of within your. If you have no responsibilities to take
all these responsibilities won't matter anymore. because you've elevated from that plane you've gone.
Yeah, I've not yet plugged in, so that's why I'm worried that by the time I start flying high, I'm afraid I will see all those as irrelevant.
Yes, my thing, yeah. The only reason why we know that good is good, or at least happiness is great, is because it has like a contrast, right? Of misery and sadness. So, honestly speaking, in a place where it's always happy, go lucky, and whatnot, it sounds like heaven, right? And heaven sounds disgustingly uncomfortable. Like anything you want, you get. That's how most people describe heaven, right? Like it's this beautiful place where nothing is sad, everything is just happy. And imagine constant happiness always for the rest of your life. Like let's say that you've seen in that machine until you die. Like it gets sickening. Because you need a break. Emotionally, you cannot be happy all the time. Like even the most like mentally sound people have times when they are sad. And how can you be sad in the place where everything goes your way? If everything is just happy and happy, it's just it might sound good for like a week,
Can I say, like, I quite disagree with that. I think that there is a certain aspect of I don't like this might not be, please don't take this disparagingly in any way. Like I couldn't find better words, that's why I use these words. Like I think it's a kind of like poverty mentality to think that like there's a like we can never, like we can't experience happiness without sadness. I think we haven't tried that, so I think that's not, it's not something that we should just posit like that.
Something about experiencing sadness. Sorry, I'm cutting you short.
Yeah.
Something about experiencing sadness. It doesn't really need to happen to you. Some people are rich, and they're happy being rich because they see everyone around them poor, or they see poverty. I mean, they witness it. So it doesn't really need to happen to them for them to, experience that sense of poverty. So you say somebody's highly rich, and so he's constantly happy. And if you think you need to experience sadness to experience happiness, you're poor. I don't think that's the case. I think that's maybe
Is this the undercurrent of capitalism?
Sorry, just to clarify, it's not that I'm saying that it means that you're poor. Like like I was kind of drawing a parallel.
I understand what poverty mentality means now. You don't have to explain. Like it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
But I would say too that like even when you don't think about it, obviously you don't have to truly experience it, right? People they have this thought in their head, right, deep down, that I'm just happy it's not me. And it's like that selfishness, that God, sorry, English to English would say, but just how that wickedness that lays with underneath all human beings, yeah, it helps you enjoy happiness.
I was going to say that wickedness.
Schadenfreude. That's a German word for it.
Schadenfreude. Yeah, because like look at this. I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but when there's a car crash in Nigeria, yeah, or a bus or whatever, and one person survives, what's the typical thing Nigerians say?
Praise the Lord.
And there's an underlying thing that people say, especially in churches and whatnot, which is that like, oh, it can never happen to you because you are God's children. And what it implies is that be happy that it's not you because somebody else has suffered, and now you are the chosen one because you survived, right? My case is different. Yeah.
Yeah, my guys, that actually came up because Lisa mentioned the point on happiness. Is my background too noisy?
We'll survive.
Can you guys hear me? Has anyone seen a Netflix series called The Good Place?
No.
No one. I promise you guys you will not regret it.
Called what?
The Good Place.
Yeah, I've seen it.
It's, give us a synopsis.
It's about heaven.
It was something around when Lisa was mentioning about happiness, and he said happiness, you need some dose of sadness on all of that. First off, it's a funny comedy series on ethics, and I suspect the creator is also
It's
atheist, you know. So
very
you'd love it.
philosophical. Yeah.
You'd love it, I promise. Everything you've discussed, the trolley problem, it's entertaining, it's crazy, and I promise you'll be thanking me after you're done watching it. I binged 4 series in a week, which I was that
Kristen Bell.
Yeah, Kristen Bell.
Yeah.
She's the reason why you would love
Yeah.
it too. She's one of the
Honestly, are you sure? I think it's actually Michael. But
Michael. Yeah, you know what? You're right. You're right. I agree with that.
So the thing about happiness is
Because are you sure you actually watched this show?
Me?
Mm.
Yeah, I watched it.
Yeah.
I watched it.
Christian Bell was good, but you'd love the arguments. Every question
No, I watched it.
every question you've had in your head and all those scenarios about what if these guys need
Four
to
four
play this
seasons.
out.
That's a commitment.
Yeah, it's a very good. It's a very good show. It's a very good show.
Ranting, I'll check back in a week and you let me know how good it was. But to touch on happiness, one thing that I think helps the most, and you don't discover until you get to heaven, is how boring the idea of infinity is. So it's not enough to, oh, I'm happy. Like when you constantly stay in that state, and I don't know the philosophical backing or the quotes or the whatever, but I just know this is a thing. You know, you enjoy that happiness for long and forever and forever and forever. I don't know how to say this without giving you a spoiler, but it stops being happiness when you stay there forever. There's no end. And so there's a saying that for you to truly enjoy and like and for you to truly enjoy something in the true sense of it, we need that sense of it ending, you know, and you look forward to that end because happiness without end itself is suffering.
That's why eternal life is bullshit.
Yeah, it's suffering. Like you go now, see now them beg, now around thing, they beg, say I not do again. They go to everyone like see, I not do again, I beg.
I want to die. Let me die. Who has watched this movie? This movie of Charlize Theron that came out in 2020, where they were immortals. Who remembers where they were immortal as mercenaries? I don't even remember.
The old god,
Huh?
The old god.
The old god, the old god. One guy actually set them up because he wanted to die. He was tired of being alive.
Yeah, so and it's just the irony is ridiculous because on one part you work all your life to get that thing you think is great and you know, and I think it takes someone who thinks and sits down and say, aside the cultural norms, aside what you've been brainwashed by and what everyone has said to be great, do you truly want to enjoy this? For me, I'm like, dude, you can't even do 2 hours in church without complaining and being tired. Why the hell would you want to do eternity in heaven? You know, and this movie doesn't even have that idea of heaven of praise and worship. It is thorough enjoyment. Granted, if your idea of enjoyment is playing PS4, PS5 all your life, you get it. I'll give you that PS5. But after 200 years, you come back and tell me that, see, I know do again.
I don't do.
Yeah. So I don't want to let much.
I'm sorry. Am I wrong to say that like we're erroneously adding the idea of eternity to this particular scenario? Because the machine is not eternal.
I also have some comments even. So, hello, Toby.
So yeah, I didn't want to. Sorry, I just wanted to put a spin on what she said, and I just it's not just happiness isn't something you enjoy because there's always the sadness part of it. Yes, it's a human thing, I know, but another angle to happiness is it being a finite thing. Keyword is finite and not being eternal. Yeah, that's the spin I came here to add. Sorry if it digressed completely from what you were discussing.
Nah, no, it's all good, all good. Yeah, Lumi, you want to say something?
Yeah, my screen locked. Yeah, what I wanted to say was the idea of this happiness, right? I know that there are studies where they've they did on rats where they gave them everything they wanted, basically, and over time you just find that the rats started getting depressed. However, I feel like when maybe there are some assumptions we make, right, when we say, oh, what do you think about an idea of like what do you think of infinite happiness? in the sense that, like, okay, what if the reason why it appears, or at least the way I see it, that people feel, oh, we'll get bored of infinite happiness, is that we assume there will be there will be a finite sense of novelty. So, like, if there's always going to be something new and differently stimulating, I don't think that infinite happiness will necessarily be a bad thing. It will always be new and different, like something you've never experienced. So, like, I mean, under such circumstances, would you be sad?
Lumi, that's an angle to it, but I don't think I don't think randomness can continue when it's the same subset of. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag too much, but I mean, there are only a finite number of people you meet, and there are only a finite number of things you can do with those people. At some point, trust me, 1,000 years, 2,000 years, and everything I've seen actually happen in the series. Ego tire you. Like you'd say, oh, I'll do something else. You do something else. You literally touch base on everything you want to do, and at the worst part is you even do it for X number of times, because you think, oh, this is sugar, and you can never get enough of sugar. But until you get to that point, you realize that, man, I had a bucket list of things I wanted to do. That bucket list actually ends, So except there's a gamer. I really don't want to say too much, because there was a God in it that does this thing you said, that makes things interesting. He sees everyone getting bored and says, okay, let me add another player in the game and to spice things up before people get bored. But someone smart always says, come on. There seems to be a consistent thing that happens, that for every interval, something interesting happens to distract us, and we are back to the beginning again. That itself is not random again when you look at it. So they had to reboot the system. Picture Planet Earth being rebooted every time someone wakes up in the Matrix. Lumi, that's it. Like, but one guy says, oh, what's going on? Every time this thing happens, something interesting happens, or something that diverts our attention happens. And that guy says, come. He whispers to the next person, and but unfortunately, the moment a few people wake up, boom, Mr. God reboots the system again, and we're back to square one. Yeah, pretty much. So in an infinity, nothing is ever spontaneous again. That is the idea of true infinity. You've covered everything spontaneously. Like, Lumi, if you're dating your girlfriend, how many spontaneous it would finish? Like, it would legit finish when you deal with the idea of true infinity.
But like, I think this idea, Toby, whilst it's interesting, has something to do with like the inquiry in place, right? Because in this one, it is limited to some extent. It is like an artificial setting, right?
Exactly.
And not one that's being made by God.
My point.
So like,
okay.
Yeah, so this one there is going to have different reasons. And honestly speaking, if you're in a place where like that, in that good place, and you are just a hater like that, like, what are you looking for, please? Well, yeah, I think we should go back to inquiry. But I'll definitely watch the show.
Like you can.
Yeah.
Remember, you can turn the machine on and off, so it's not eternal. You will still die, so it's not eternal. Let's stop talking about eternity and infinity.
Yeah, okay. Let's continue. Misa, I think it's your turn now. Abi?
Okay.
Yeah, it's your turn.
So what's my
So this scenario, there are 5 patients. Each of these patients has a terminal disease. They're all dying from failure of different organ. One person is dying of heart failure, one is dying of lung failure, one is dying of stomach failure. You understand? Different organs are failing. None of them have the same issue, but it's all organ failure. Each of them are going to die if the organ failure is not addressed. So what they discovered that there's another healthy person who is a match. All these organs, they need to be a match. And this particular healthy human being is a match to the 5 of these people, the 5 of them. So if what do they call it now? Each of them will be saved if they take an organ from that person. So the question is, would you sacrifice one healthy person to save 5? Does the need of the many outweigh the few? would you kill one to save five?
So if I give them this organ, whatever it may be, like the guy's going to die, right? That's
Yeah, the one person will die,
and let
and
him
the other
die.
five will be saved. Huh?
Let him die.
No, okay, that's a you are the healthy person. Let's put it that way.
My question is she taking him like against his will or something?
Yeah, like if he's willing to do it, then that one, what to concern me? Like,
I feel like
I don't think he's willing to do it.
I feel
but then it's a hospital.
the power
right?
is in the hands of we that are receiving the question.
You know that.
Okay, so let's say he was being forced to come to this place, right? And it's against his will. So if it's like with his consent, I will kill him quick. But if it's against his will, and these people would die, what would I do? I think like I would help free the person and ask them, right? So I would ask them if they are willing to kill themselves to save the 5 people. Because at the end of the day, I'm just a practitioner or the doctor, whatever it may be, right? I just do what I'm told to do. I think that decision indirectly is still in the hands of the person with the organ. But if I was the person that sacrificed myself to save 5 people, I would save 5 people.
I think this is another, like, it points to another variation of the trolley problem, right? Because there's one variation of the trolley problem that kind of isolates what we really think when we say we are saving the one person because one life, we are killing one person because one life is, better than one. Where it altered it a little bit, where it said, if you were to push somebody in front of the train, right? And then the train will stop. This is hypothetical, so obviously anything goes. But you were actively to push that person as opposed to just pushing one lever or the other. People's answers kind of change because now you're actually making contact with the person for some reason. Like you're the one making the decision. Obviously, that people can. Yeah, well, you're making the decision in both ways, but this one is a lot more personal, where you're the one who pushed the person in front of the train and killed the person to save the 5 people. So I think that's what this hypothetical is also trying to isolate. Like, are you going to make a decision? Because I assume the hypothetical is saying you have the power to make a decision and make the person give all his organs. So the whole asking the person for his permission is not really part of the hypothetical. It's more like you have the power to make the decision to dash all these people organs. Would you do it? Type of thing. Would you actively kill somebody to save other people?
So I feel like too another aspect will come in. I was expecting like, how old is the owner of the organs compared to like the other people? Like I am more inclined to save somebody who's a child or who is young, like a young adult, than I am to save someone who's older. So let's say now that the guy is older and the people are younger, I would save the people and sacrifice the older person. It really all depends on what the difference between that one person and those 5 people are.
Wait, can I comment on this one? I think this one, what seems to be required here, although of course it's controversial and there could be many different answers, is that what seems to be required here is to like recognize. I think it's consent issues here. Like the person is, because the way they paint it is that the person is just sitting outside the waiting room, and you just go and forcefully grab the person and give it and
consideration.
Yeah, and use the organs for the people who are dying. And what they want to bring out here is that seems problematic, right? I think it is. That one person isn't dying, right? Or is he? Is he dying?
He's healthy.
Let me just see again. Yeah, he's a healthy, complete person. So that's the problem there. Like just going out there, grabbing him forcefully to
pushing
save
him
5
in front
people.
of the train.
So there's a tension there, as in, so I think that's what. And then again, there was a reference of like, well, if your boss asks you to do it, I think one needs to be careful of that, because your boss can ask you to just go stab random people in the hospital. Would you do that? Like, okay, that might be like an outrageous example, but even as part of your work, right? If something seems like unethical, you're supposed to be able to rebel and say, "Oh no, I'm not doing it." So even if your boss in the hospital said, "Well, now we're just gonna go and grab that one man outside and use his organs," you're supposed to be able to say something. So let me just
people to that point. People would depending on the situation, like people can let go of morality in that case. For instance, the people that, I don't know, Hitler told to go kill some people, they can't really say no to those type of things.
Oh,
right?
no, I've done it. The way I've done mine is not in the case where you yourself are being threatened, right? Like, this is your boss and you are like a doctor that can find job elsewhere. That's where I'm leaving it. It's not the one where they have a gun to your head. That's a little different.
Scenarios. Let's move on. Scenario 7. Now, this scenario, there's a terrorist. He placed a nuclear bomb somewhere in your city. The timer is ticking wherever it is. Whenever it goes off, it is going to be a massive destruction, like crazy level of loss of life. Buildings leveled, nuclear fallout, burning skin, radiation poisoning, the whole madness. Now, the terrorist has ensured that his bomb will go off in the next 24 hours, but you have captured him. He refuses to talk, and you get desperate. Hundreds of thousands of lives, if not millions, are at stake. Now, the ethical challenge is for you. Would you torture the terrorists for them to talk?
Yes. 100% yes.
Over torture, they worry him.
I would rip his fingernails from his body. I would break his fingers one by one. I would pour acid down his urethra if I have to. I would do whatever.
I know Nigerians have no problem with that. I was about to say.
Do whatever is necessary.
Jungle justice and all that.
Bro,
No, but see, honestly, like, you have confirmed is the one. Like, you are 101%.
Yeah. I'm just teasing, right? That seems to be the right thing to do to save the other. If that's the experiment says that's the only way.
I'm going to put his testicles between a vice.
No do mistake, kill him, because he need to give us information.
No, but he won't die. Slowly compress and compress the
electric shock or like the taser thing.
Use plier and remove his teeth.
Like, this is a scenario where you know there are millions of lives at stake. Like, what the fuck?
No holds barred. This man is going to die in my hand.
I feel like you guys have spent too much time thinking about how to torture people.
No, he must know that the other person has forgotten that he mustn't die because he won the secret.
He mustn't die too. That's
why I said I will go for his fingernails.
If he faint, wake him up.
Adrenaline shots. You wake up.
As a those scenarios,
his body. I don't care. I will skin him alive.
We don't do.
Oh boy! It never happened yet. Relax.
Make you don't catch the guy. Oh boy! Yeah, para. No, I feel this is I think this one is kind of clear cut. I don't think there's any.
Are there actually people that will be like, "Oh my god, I don't want to touch anybody"?
Yes, there are people like that.
There are people now. That whole bloody scenario might not.
But if there's a way of causing enough pain to like let that person confess. Like with all this like taser thing where you wouldn't have to like start chopping the body off, right? So that after the person gives the secret of away, he wouldn't be like he's lost an arm or something. Or so you can go for that person. Only if that doesn't work, right?
This one is clear. We go torture that bastard. Their lives are at stake, man.
Oh yeah, what I go do after I don't spill, what I go do?
Oh yeah, now kill him. I know, like the jungle.
No, so I hand him over to the authorities. I don't finish that off.
No, by the time I've skinned him, I'll hand him over and like, that is how he came.
I met him like that. He had one ball.
I met him like that. There was no
Okay. I want to quickly drop in something because this is all because how do I put this? Taking laws into your own hands could actually get you in trouble, right? Because yes, as much as everyone is so happy to skin the guy alive or play torture machine to get him to confess, what if he's not the actual person? How are you sure he's the real terrorist? Maybe he's acting on behalf of someone.
That would be a different scenario.
That's why.
That's you guys are looking at it from all these directions.
No. They're getting it from somewhere. It stipulates that we know it's the person.
Okay. But
hey, there's a problem still.
I mean, but yeah,
there's a problem still because what? Okay, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, I'm not trying to say, we're sure it's the person. Okay, you guys have agreed it's sure it's the person. What makes you think the torture, like you torturing him, would put you in trouble? Because, I mean, there's a law that says you shouldn't take laws into your own hands.
Okay, yes, you'll be in trouble, but millions of people will be alive.
Yeah, exactly.
How do I put this? Let's assume he dies from your torture and you live in a jurisdiction that says you kill you till you die. Won't you go with him?
I mean, I'm going to die.
Are you looking at it through these lenses?
Well, you're adding extra layers to the scenario.
Yeah.
I mean,
you see, the thought experiment, right? You have to abstract all those away. Otherwise, we won't be able to do the one of push the fat man to save 5-10, right? Because you'll be thinking, what if they charge me to court? What if they do that? Those have to be abstracted away.
If that man died,
okay.
Everybody would.
Because honestly, I've been thinking about all of these. I've just been keeping, when it comes to philosophical conversations like this, I just like to stay down and stay quiet and let everyone do it. Because everything we've talked about today, there is no one answer to it. Like, there's no one correct answer, basically.
That's the idea.
There's no one answer.
Limb from limb.
Okay. Anyway, I'm moving down to the is it gulag you guys call it here? So when I need to say something, I'll be back again. Bye.
The trenches.
Nothing do you. So let's move on to the next. The Atali, for some reason you are lower, your volume is lower than all of us.
Yeah, I wanted to say that too. Like
I don't understand.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe use your ordinary phone. It's really low. That's why people were talking over you a little bit, I think.
Is it better?
Yeah, I think, yeah.
It's better.
A little better.
Yeah. Okay. So this scenario itself is not even a scenario. It's just a Star Trek kind of. Okay, let's see. What he says now is that you beam. Yeah, this beam transporter. Those the way they used to teleport. And who has watched Star Trek? They used to teleport. And
who has not watched Star Trek?
Some people have not.
I haven't.
So, Gen Z.
So what is it that the transporter takes? The transporter takes the molecules in your body and it replicates it at your destination. But if your molecules are merely being replicated, is the person landing on the other end you or a copy of you? I don't know. Like, when they teleport, so it is making a copy while deleting the one at the source, the starting point. So you want to teleport from the ship to one mountain in another planet. I don't know. He said it makes a copy of your molecules.
If it's making a copy, sorry, this is not my question, Karen.
Whose question is it, Seth? This one is to the room. This one is to anybody.
It is making a copy of your molecules and not it's not transporting your molecules. It's making a copy, right? I think it's not you.
No,
right? It's the copy. It's a copy. So what do you say?
It's that's what I said now.
That's what I said now.
It's replicating your molecules. Yeah, on at your destination while deleting the current molecules at the source.
Yeah. So replicating is the key word. Yeah.
Yeah, Michael.
Right. I think the answer to this depends on how much of you is your consciousness. Because I assume that when it replicates you at that other end, you will still have I'm assuming that you will still have it will also replicate your memories and your experiences and everything essentially that makes you. So if the so-called original has been destroyed then there's no other you. Like that's you. Like I think it's both a copy and not a copy. If that makes any sense to anyone.
Consciousness, the experiences, the content of the brain of the consciousness. That's as the actual
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Like,
and as far as you are aware, right, you've just been transported from one place to another. Like you're not really like you won't feel any of the destruction or any like that's not really necessarily part of the experience for you. Like that's what I'm imagining. Like this thing would
Mine
be.
is like there is something in nature we can actually use as an example. Surprisingly,
okay.
like like when a caterpillar like turns to like a butterfly. Yeah, inside the like chrysalis, that stuff they wrap themselves around before they like transform. Like the caterpillar's body like completely breaks down. Like there's nothing left of this. It just turns to mush.
Yeah.
And then it reassembles as a butterfly. So that butterfly that came out, we still consider it like, okay, the caterpillar I saw was. I don't even know how to put it right now.
I would say that why I'm saying that it's not the same is because even the I would say cells. Let's go down to the tiniest whatever. The cells that are within that caterpillar and the mush and it turned into it's still the same cells it uses to turn into the butterfly. Nothing external is added. But this one is saying that it's replicated. In fact, this whole scenario is very similar to another paradox of like a sheep, right? I don't know if you guys have heard it before. Like if we keep changing the parts of the sheep, like we changed the dog.
Okay, WandaVision.
Exactly.
Sheep of Theseus.
Yeah, exactly. Ship of Theseus. That's the paradox, right? So, if you change over the years, you've changed every single part of that ship. Is it still the ship of Theseus? Do you understand what I mean? And in that scenario, I would also say it's a different ship, but
is that not what happened to us as humans?
Go ahead. No, go after you.
Ourselves.
Yeah, like our cells all change. Like after a certain number of years, you're not exactly like nothing about you is exactly the same as it was before. But does that mean that you're a copy now?
Yeah, but okay. A cell divides from itself, right? Like a cell splits into two. There's nothing is going out, is made from within the cell. Do you understand what I mean? What this scenario is saying is that pause. wait, pause. Wait, I don't catch myself. I don't catch myself. Oh God, I was on a roll. You know what? It's the same thing.
I can comment. I can comment on that. Like, it seems like because I was thinking of this scenario about your cells replicates but all the cells in your body totally change every 10 years. Like they're not the same as the one from 10 years prior. Now it seems like it's similar to this transponder or whatever thing that is copying atoms, right? I think like I don't know that much about this thing, but I've heard it like discussed in another room, like in there, people who know about these kind of identity issues. And one of the main concerns here is whether the copy survives, whether they're true at the same time, right? Because if maybe your 10 years ago self, the cells that were being changed were being removed and assembled somewhere, and there were now two of you, right? Then it would be a little bit problematic. But because that other one of 10 years ago is not there, we're comfortable saying it's still you. So if that transporter thing makes it that the one that was on Earth gets killed and then you just get beamed there, then there would be a sense in which we can just say that that's you. But
it's
if
not more like killed,
copy,
you just vanish into thin air.
Oh, yeah. In that case, if it's just that one copy, but it was being copied, but the original one gets killed, right? There's still a sense where we can still go with, well, it's still you, right? You know, because I think this thing is more about convention than actually rather it's really, really you. Like when you were 7 years, when you were 7 years old, like that 7-year-old human, like, is it identically you? Right, I think that's debatable. Some will say yes, some will say no. It's based on convention.
The implication.
Who has watched this movie? Sorry, the one, Jet Li.
Yeah,
I have.
Remember how they transport from universe
That's
to
for
universe?
millennials.
What the fuck?
I'm sorry, I can't relate as a Gen Z. I'm sorry.
We know.
I can't relate.
I'm a Gen Z and I don't
You
watch them
fucking
now.
Gen Z,
Nigga
don't
doesn't
worry
even know who
now.
Jet Li is.
Who the fuck is Jet? Who
doesn't know
the fuck
Jet
is
Li?
Jet Li?
Jackie Chan is.
Who is Jackie Chan? Please.
No, why I brought it is just the way they transport. There's a way. This one is actually the transport of the molecules. The molecules are not copied; they are actually extracted, and it looks like a painful process and reassembled at your destination.
Yeah, but like
I think that one
this
is
scenario like said replicates. That's what is like really
yeah.
this
But
thing.
Copy.
Like,
Yeah, I think
copy.
the key.
I think it's cut and paste.
I think the key thing that
Exactly.
would separate that cell thing. I've been thinking about it. The cell thing that I talked about replicating, and this replicating thing you're talking about. We have to define what goes into replicating. I know that human cells replicate from itself, but this one is not defined. It just says replicate, and if it's not replicating, if it's giving something like the kind of replicating is like something like a printer, a scanner, right? That scans a paper with his own ink. It scans a document and it has its own ink and its own paper, and it scans exactly what's on the other document. And the two things look identical. However, the materials were not from the same place. Do you understand what I mean?
But I don't think it makes a difference because that copy for copy, maybe it's copying atoms and this technology is such that it gets it close. So that's very similar to your cell like replicating, making a copy of itself. In fact, it's even doing it better
it dies,
because when your cell divides, it's actually like does errors. That's why we get old because the copy made is not even exactly, but this technology actually copies it atom for atom, like it's even better than what we have with the cell.
The implications for this is just that it means we are just information, really. And that what we consider matter is just like a carrier, like a storage device. So if you're able to copy all that information, like it doesn't matter. So it still be you. You won't know the difference.
Yeah, and I think if it is a bit like terminology, but if physicalism is true, right, it will also mean that once it copies it atom for atom, your brain atom for atom, you have all your memories, you have everything. That copy will have everything.
Yeah, I just want to butt in here. When it actually copies, because I also read the thing, when it actually copies the transporter or whatever this copies you, does it like copy everything? Like, this is like what I'm basically trying to say is, do you that got copied remain where you are while the transportation happens?
I asked this as well, and they told
because if I watched the movie, you see it as you are disappearing on the source end and appearing.
Yeah, you get destroyed on the source end. Yeah, I was keen to check that as well because
I just wanted to be clear because I can see. Yeah, okay, cool. Because basically, I would say there's how do I put this? It is you, but it is also not you at the same time.
So,
and I think everything you guys have spoken about kind of covers it.
Is it Thesaurship? I mean,
yeah, basically. Or can we put it like this in the computer? Like, listen, Lumi's analogy again. I'm basically encapsulating everything you guys have said. You've all answered it in various ways. It's just like clicking Control X and Control V on a system. I mean, you've taken that same file from one point to the other. Yes, it's not the same anymore because you've changed directories and everything, but it's still the same. You get what I'm saying?
But it's the same. It's the same as it's this. Yeah, it's the same. It's not the same in the same way as you and your 7-year-old self are not the same. If you're prepared to say it's not the same.
Yeah, but in this case, in this scenario, since it's copying the exact same copy as like the exact same copy picked up from one point.
I would say
copy back on the other end, then it is you and not you, basically.
Just for me, I would even say the intuition that it's you is even stronger than that one of the 7-year-old copy of you, which is actually totally different. It has totally different memories, totally different. This one is more you than the 7-year-old self of you is you.
Yeah. So let's cut and paste to the next scenario. And Lumi, this one, the Holy Spirit
Nice
prepared this for
Oh
you.
my God, here we go.
When I saw it, I was like, no, seriously, you don't say we don't plan now. So, like, you understand why I'm saying what I said. Okay, let's go with the
Okay, back
scenario.
to the
Thank you for listening to this episode. Please subscribe up Apple, Spotify, Google, YouTube, and other places you find podcasts. Check out the links in the show notes that you may find useful. We've created a Discord server, so please check out the link. If you are new to Discord, it can be overwhelming in the beginning, but as time goes on, you get used to it. So, looking forward to meeting you there. Have a great week, and I will catch you on the next one.